Emergency show. Jackson, starting on Sunday, 1 o'clock against the Los Angeles Chargers. Week 4. This was not part of the plan. This is not a drill. This is this is the plan accelerated. This was not the timeline, is the proper way to say this. And it's got to be coming from somewhere. So we have some thoughts and just kind of wanted to get them out as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm foaming at the mouth, so I'm ready to talk about this. So let's
Well,
go.
I mean, I think we should hop right into it. I guess the only I don't have a ton more information other than what I just said. This is
Yep.
just coming on the heels of I would say Russell Wilson's worst performance so far this year in terms of the optics, the way it looked.
Mhm.
The first game, the entire offense didn't look good. Second game, the offense looked like it was something for sure, and it looked like a game that was lost by, some clutch decision making, some poor penalties. There were reasons the team lost, but it wasn't necessarily performance related. And then last week, there was just nothing doing at all. The offense was stagnant. And the only thing that truly was consistent and looked pretty good was the running game, which Russell Wilson had almost nothing to do with.
Right.
So this is a decision that is being made on the heels of a very poor Russell Wilson performance. So it's likely, a big portion of this decision, right?
Yeah, I feel like, to have this conversation right now, if you haven't listened to our show that posted today that we recorded last night, because I spoke my piece on how I feel about Joe Shane and Brian Dable. And, saying that they are basically they're playing whack-a-mole with everything they do. Whether it's in-game decisions to preparation to roster building to whatever. And I had basically given my loss of confidence to both of them. But I did say, as we finished up the show, you asked me some rapid fire questions. Is he going to start next week? And I said, no, because I thought the one thing that they were hanging, one thing that I think that basically kept their job and was we need the chance to get our quarterback in and we have a plan how we're going to roll this out. And because of the good word you used was optics as well as performance on a very, very, very small sample size, we are scrapping that plan. And I don't think it was a reason for doing it because they're trying to chase wins. I don't think they're doing it to try to save their jobs. I just think it is a continuation of the pattern of this whack-a-mole-ness of, you know, we don't have any coherence to what we ultimately want to do and how we're going to get that accomplished. It's just react, 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 react. And this is another data set that validates to me that these two need to go at the appropriate time. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt that like the right time to start Jackson Dart is when you feel he's ready. He's ready for the
Mhm.
spotlight. There's a lot of things that come with, I'm not going to play the card of like this is New York, but like it's a spotlight thing starting in the NFL in any place. But this is not like, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is an established franchise that's been around for a while. It is going to get a ton of attention. Make sure he's ready to handle that. Make sure he's in a situation
Yeah.
where you think that you're not throwing him to the wolves. You are, you know, letting go of a kid without training wheels anymore or something like
Mhm.
that. You know what I mean? On a bike. Um,
Here's my perception, Grump. If Russell Wilson played great last week, or if Russell Wilson played average last week, is that change their perception of his Jackson Dart ready? Yes or no? And I feel the decision was made more because
right.
the starting quarterback didn't look well. So we are going to reevaluate if Jackson Dart is ready. And that to me is very, very flawed logic and could have a lot of repercussions down the line.
100%. I don't think there's a doubt in anybody's mind that if, forget even winning the game against the Chiefs, I think if Russell Wilson threw for 200 yards and they lost, 22-21, Jackson Dart is not starting this game. Now, I do want to talk about that though, because there are, I think, six possibilities on where this decision is sprouting from, where the seed of this decision is sprouting from. And I'm just going to list them through, and maybe I'm missing one, but I don't think I am. I think there's only six. Number one is this strictly Brian Dable's decision? Is he saying, I cannot play this game anymore with Russell Wilson? It is a waste of time for me to need to coach Russell Wilson to do the things I need him to do. He's supposed to be a veteran. If I'm going to waste time and lose games, I might as well be losing games with the kid I have a vested interest in coaching him forward. Um, is it Brian Dable's decision? Is it Brian Dable's decision because he has someone above him, namely Joe Shane, saying, Brian, we need to start winning games here, man. What are we doing? What is the point of drafting Jaxson Dart if he's going to sit on the bench or something of that nature? Is it Joe Shane's decision because hey man, we moved heaven and earth. We had to trade into the first round. We gave up on other positions to get you your quarterback. I want to see you play your quarterback. Is it Joe Shane's decision because someone above him is telling him to do this? Is it John Mara's decision because he wants to see? Is this that scene from Draft Day where he's telling the GM, Bo Callahan is a splash move.
Make a splash.
People pay to get wet. Is this John Mara's decision because he is starting to hear "We want Dart" chanting in the crowd? So those are the six. And I'm curious to see I'll start with this. We don't know the answer to this. We don't know it.
We don't know, and probably never will know it. Yeah. Right. I would say I think this is majority a Brian Dable decision. Maybe with some input on Joe Shane. I don't buy the Joe Shane, the one you said, we drafted this guy, we need to show him. Because I think, again, going back to when they sold their plan to keep their jobs last year with Mara, that plan wasn't just, well, we're just going to draft a quarterback and he's playing on day one. Right. If they didn't fucking beat the Colts and maybe they had Cam Ward, maybe the plan is different. But they drafted a guy who was a late first round, arguably second round pick, who they made the assessment is not going to be ready on day one. It's going to take X amount of time. I mean, I know the timing is they got two quarterbacks before him, but you know something? If they really felt this guy was ready, maybe they trade one of those two guys and they accelerate everything. But nothing they did up until opening kickoff against Washington, nothing in their preparation, nothing in their roster moves, nothing in anything told you they're accelerating this. They said a lot of complimentary things, but, words that a GM or a coach say in front of a microphone are like assholes. Everybody has them, whatever. I don't care about that. I really think that it's just another in the pattern of Dable of, I'm doing this. I'm reacting to this. I'm doing this. I'm reacting to it. I'm doing this. No plan, and that's where attention to detail gets lost. That's where all these things happen because there's no preparation. There's no bigger picture. There's no 1 month, 4 games, 8 games, 16 game plan. It's put out the fire, put out the fire, put out the fire. And unfortunately, we're in year 4 and they've lost all of the currency and the goodwill that they might have had. If this was year 1 or year 2, this move isn't going to be made. So I don't know I don't know how much of it is pressure from anybody. I don't think Mara was involved. I think, this isn't a team that's worrying about selling tickets. No beer sales or like that's change that's inside your couch for how much money a team makes. None of that bullshit. This is, and even, Mayor had to deal with the planes. He doesn't care about that shit. Just because he looks like he's mad in a luxury box, that doesn't mean anything. I think this is a Brian Dable, maybe with a little input from Shane, but this is Brian Dable. It's what we have as a coach.
I don't disagree. I think this is a Brian Dable decision, and I think, and part of the reason I think that is because we went over this. I don't really think the offense is designed to Russell Wilson's strengths, and I know that week 2 we were bombs away, but that was really just taking what was being given to us, and Dallas was not adjusting to the deep game. So I don't really know how much of that was
Mhm.
really in the game plan. You know what I mean? It was like, well, they're just going to keep giving it to us. Just, Russ, keep throwing that and just
That's
keep
good
running it.
coaching. That's good.
That's
And it,
good coaching, but I'm saying in terms of the offense and the game plan, I don't know how much that was really in there and what they wanted to do versus like, hey man, we assumed that they would just take this away. If they're not going to, then just keep going.
Mhm.
I think they want to. It seems to me that they have designed an offense around what Jaxson Dart does best, not what Russell Wilson does best. Now, is there some overlap there with the deep ball? Yes. So, like, even some points for Russell Wilson are not necessarily points against Dart. It's a point in both categories. So,
Mhm.
I think that at a certain point, it's not losing. It's that the offense. Brian Dable, I made the argument literally this morning on the show that Brian Dable kind of doesn't give a fuck about anything but the offense. His offense sucks, and it sucked since he got here. Even in 2022 when we were winning, it's not like the offense was putting up numbers.
Well, I think that might be a combination of both of them. Because remember last offseason, not this past one, the one before, the comments we were talking about was like they've done nothing to address the defense. They're worrying about the offense right now. And we
Well,
thought maybe that's
they've done roster things to address the defense. Like they'll draft a guy or they'll pay Brian Burns or go out and buy Javon Holland or whatever. Like they'll just but like when it came to the coaching search, like it just seems like it's like a whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
very reactionary too, right? Like you go
Mhm.
out there and you get like Wink Martindale with a very aggressive style defense that blitzes quarterbacks. You have a personality clash there, which I truly believe is the reason that he's gone, not
Sure.
like a problem with philosophy or even scapegoating. Like, well, this is why we need to get rid of this guy. It's just simply like we cannot coexist as people. Power struggle sort of situation. I don't disagree with moving on in that scenario, but
That happens. Yeah.
but I don't think he was out because they were scapegoating. He's like, well, we can't stop the run, which was a fact, but also, so that's not why they went out. Like they just got Shane Bowen. It's like, well, he does good against the run, whatever. Like it's a completely different defensive philosophy,
Mhm.
completely different. Um, it just doesn't feel like it's a give a fuck thing. Like treating kickers a certain way, treating punt returners and kick returners with complete apathy, like just like a box that needs to be checked. The decisions on offense look totally different, and even something like like wrestling away the play calling away from Mike Kafka. You know what I mean? Just feeling the need to be involved in the offense. It's truly what I think he cares about the most.
Yeah. And this is even like the weird things like, at the bottom of the roster. The way they've handled the Jalen Hyatt thing. It's like, well, he's not playing, but I don't want to make the extra effort to get rid of him. Like, I don't want to listen to phone calls for him. It's just, I don't know. If it's not on his radar of what's important, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Um, so, I really think that this is him just like I can't operate my offense. I can't operate the year's game plan and what I've installed with this guy. And it's going to take time for me to try and coach. Like, why am I coaching this guy? If he doesn't get it, if this veteran on a 1 year deal doesn't get it, why am I wasting games trying to get him to get it or make it work when
Well,
this is the guy I drafted and built the offense around? Like, he's ready enough. I and I,
but it,
and I stress enough because I honestly think that that's the decision making. He's ready enough for this move to happen.
but then if that's the case. Even if ready enough is, you know, subjective, we don't know that. But we also have Jameis Winston on this roster. If you need an emergency, if you can't play Russell Wilson anymore, if he's unplayable, which to me, after 3 games, I'm not ready to make that call just yet. If that's the case, and you don't, you're trying to lay out the process and be measured on it and disciplined about it, you have Jameis Winston. You can play him until you really think he is ready. I mean, I just think the determination of ready or ready enough was not because of what Jaxson Dart's doing. That scares me.
Yeah, and
It's
I
poor
understand
judgment.
that. I mean, I say it scares me in the long term. I'm not going to lie to you that I'm excited to see this. But
Oh,
but I will say at least this much, right? This is not the same situation that we were in 2018 with Daniel Jones, where that felt like an actual panic move. Like Eli's washed, we're pivoting. And the difference is, and we railed against the decision, was like Daniel Jones took like no first team reps throughout the whole summer.
mm-hmm.
None. Jaxson Dart, on the other hand, and I do feel like this was sort of a backdoor part of the plan, right? Like they were always going to have this sort of out. Like I do believe that there was like, look, this we might need to go to him sooner. This plan may not be like a 7 to 8 game plan. This could be less. I think that it's been a backdoor and that they needed to be ready for it. But
There's also a little bit of revisionist history too. Like now Eli Manning is beloved. Every time he walks
oh
into the
my
stadium,
God,
people
they
go ape
hated
shit.
him from like I would even say some people hated him from the moment he was drafted and never quite let go of it.
Yeah, and also, the point I was getting at was when it was kind of near the end, people were kind of like done with him.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
and it happens in this town all the time. It happened with Patrick Ewing. It happened with Eli. It was just okay, and a lot of it's ready to turn the page. And then we drafted a quarterback, and okay, people were not completely excited about Daniel Jones, less excited than they are about Jaxson Dart, but we have a new shiny new object. And now that I'm kind of sick of the old one, now I want to move on. So it's a little, they weren't booing him and saying, you didn't hear any Daniel Jones chants, but it wasn't this, Eli Manning wasn't capital E, capital L, capital I that he is today.
No, I mean, I remember for 3 years at minimum, there was a ton of noise that like Eli just straight up stunk. And you still had those people in there that were like, he's always done this. Like, and it was like just kind of nonsense. But yeah,
Yep.
there is some revisionist history there. But just in general, like Jaxson Dart is more ready than Daniel Jones was. They have
Oh, he's
greased
played
him
more.
into this gimp
And
suit.
let's, and not only that, I mean, let's look at his history. He played in the SEC for multiple years. He played with a quarterback friendly, how I feel about Lane Kiffin, but the one thing I do know is he runs a pretty good offense and he's very quarterback friendly, gets people prepared to play. So he had more of a pedigree and more just overall experience coming into the league than Daniel Jones did against better competition. He
Yeah,
played Bama. He played Bama 3 times. He played LSU
sure,
three
but I
times.
mean, even so, like I'm not going to equate Bama to an NFL team or I understand the
No,
SEC and
yeah, I'm
but
talking
but
about
but
he
I mean
played
just in
Bama as
general,
opposed to,
he has
yeah,
he has taken first team snaps already.
yeah,
Happened.
yeah.
Daniel Jones was treated as a long-term project
Mhm.
and inserted in week 3. Jaxson Dart was treated as a part of this offense. There was a package of plays for him. They 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 were had him on his toes. Run out there quick in the middle of a preseason game, switching quarterbacks for a moment. Run this play. Okay, come off. You know what I mean? He started a preseason game. Daniel Jones didn't start any preseason games that year. So he is more ready than Daniel Jones was. Um, I want to ask you another question because these
Mhm.
comparisons have already started for numerous very valid reasons, but they're not going to go away. And that is Eli Manning and Jaxson Dart. They went to the same school. They're both being drafted into a situation where a veteran quarterback has come in, and uh, it's only a matter of time
Of course.
uh, before you make the quarterback switch. Which one is being drafted into a better roster? And I mean, I think the general situation for Eli, if you're going to go with the whole situation, is clearly better. I mean, he's being brought in by his head coach, by a general manager that believes in him. I mean, he was also like a hired, they traded draft picks to get him. They were also only a few
Like
years removed from being an NFC champion. I mean, this team is only a
well,
few years removed from absolutely nothing.
they traded draft picks for both quarterbacks actually. They both moved up for both of them.
Yeah, but there's a whole other thing when you're doing a backdoor deal to be like,
Yeah.
listen, what
Mhm.
happened with Eli is unprecedented.
Well, I'm going to say, I think the roster when Eli started, especially on offense, I think was better than it is now. But I think it was a more difficult situation for him because I said it back at the time, and I stick with it now that you had a lot of old guard people on that team. You had Tiki Barber, you had Michael Strahan, you had guys that they were the leaders and they were very vocal and they were very, you know,
Mm,
I think until, and I said this at the time, we didn't even have the show back then. I don't even think I even knew you back then, really. It's
nope.
like I do now. I mean, but I said to anybody who'd listened to me, this will never be Eli's team until Tiki Barber and Michael Strahan are off this team. It doesn't mean they're not going to win or be successful, but he's never going to truly be, have a earn a C on his jersey and be the leader of this team. So I think, looking at the offensive line, I think the offensive line was better back then. Tiki Barber, you know, it should be a Hall of Famer. Ike Hilliard was a solid, I love Ike Hilliard. Wore his jersey Sunday night. Jeremy Shockey, as much as I hated his guts, was a great tight end. Amani Toomer, all this stuff. That's a lot of talent that is not on this team right now. So I think he came into a better offensive position, with the talent around him to get successful. And it took him a little while to do so.
I think that it's a little closer than that. Um, Tiki Barber being the big standout, in my opinion, of I mean, we don't have a running back like that on this team right now. I think the offensive line was better. I don't think there's any doubt in that. But I mean, also, we I don't think we really knew how good Chris Snee was going to be. Is
Mm-hmm.
Chris Snee's rookie year, but just in general, I think that that offensive line was more stable. Um, Jeremy Shockey's better. Like Ike Hilliard at that point is a 7-year veteran. He
Mm-hmm.
had less than 500 yards that year. He had no touchdowns that year. Was that his last year?
With the Giants, I think so.
With
Let me look
2004?
up.
Yeah, I mean, these are end of the line Ike Hilliard and Amani Toomer, where, you know, Toomer to me at this point in his career was kind of what Darius Slayton is now. Malik Neighbors, I think, clears in that spot. Um, on defense, I think it's no doubt that this is a more talented defense than what
Yeah.
they had at that time.
Yes.
Again, we're not talking about coordinators. That's not even factoring into this discussion. No coach talk at all here. Just simply roster talent.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But
but I do
rosters
think
always.
I think on the offense it's a little bit closer because you know I don't think that this offensive line is that bad. I mean they can't really run block. The big deciding factor between the two of them is that this current offensive line can't run block anywhere near the way that offensive line could. Sean
Right.
O'Hara, Dave Deal, and Chris Snee alone.
This offensive line is like referees. Like they're just kind of there. They're
But
not
but
making.
they are not a reason. Like Russell Wilson is not under constant pressure, and they faced a blitz heavy Spags defense with Chris
Mhm.
Jones on the defensive line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, Dallas, the pressure was non-existent. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Uh, and again, this is an incredibly small sample size because Andrew Thomas has played like 30 snaps,
That
and
that's it. He was
and
just
James Hudson played a game and a quarter.
you just said something very important too as part of this overall plan. We're about to put in this rookie with Andrew Thomas is probably still going to be on a pitch count for another week or two until he's, gets his legs under him and he's
You think
actually
so
playing.
though? I wonder about that. You think he's going to be another week or two on a pitch count?
Possibly.
I mean, sure, it's possible, but I didn't even think it was really possible to even put him out there in a pitch count situation. I didn't think they were even going to do that. So
I mean, how many snaps did he have last week?
I think about 30.
30. I mean, maybe it's increased a little more, but I
He
don't think
played
he's going to be
almost a half. I think he was
okay.
one drive away from playing a half.
All right. So, I would like a little more assurance that, the bedrock of my offensive line is back to normal before I put this guy in. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I want to save
that
some
should
of
be a
this
data point that's figured too.
100%. I want to save the rest. Well, no, I'm not going to save that. Let's get it out of the system now. I don't think there was really any point to putting Andrew Thomas on a pitch count. The only thing, like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, either he can't play or he can play. The only thing that sort of makes sense is, knocking some. You just want to knock some rust off of him in a season that sort of kind of doesn't matter.
He's got
Um,
to build up stamina and stuff
build up
too.
what stamina? Run. He can run.
I mean, you're going from not playing to playing, 60, 70 snaps. I mean,
So
preseason,
what?
these guys, I mean, all the other guys in
He's an
preseason, they play
offensive
their,
lineman. What do you
yeah.
do? Are you running down the field that you need to get your cardio in? No.
I mean, you're knocking the shit out of somebody for 60 plays.
You can
It's not
bench
a,
press with a foot injury.
it's not a
I'm just
walk in
saying,
the
like,
park.
it's not like this. It's not like he's a wide receiver with a foot injury. And I
It's
understand the
different.
stress of a 350-pound guy, but like where he didn't get his cardio in and literally can't go a whole game. Like I just don't.
If they're baby
I
him,
didn't really totally get it. But whatever that point may be, I didn't think it even mattered. But I think the main thing is just knocking the rust off. I think the rust is knocked off now. I don't think that
yeah,
he's
and
going
maybe,
on a pitch count going forward.
and again, because we're just content creators, we don't actually get to talk to anybody in the locker room. We
We'll
don't
never
know
know.
what we'll never know. We're just TikTok dancers. But for all we know, what's going on at Quest, they've had these conversations and they are planning for Andrew Thomas to play a full game. So that they might
That
have checked that
factors
off
in.
their box their thing too. We don't know.
That's actually an excellent point because at no point in the that's a brilliant point because we don't know
I have a couple.
seriously.
Mhm.
We
Especially,
don't know. Tony
especially,
Dance's tap dancing extravaganza over here with the good points. Um, we
well,
don't know if they because at no point in the summer was Andrew Thomas doing anything. He wasn't doing anything. There's a possibility that Brian Dable was like, I don't really give a fuck about Russell Wilson. I'm ready to start Jaxson Dart right away. But because they knew Andrew Thomas didn't do anything yet, and it seemed unlikely, they were hoping he could go week one, whatever. I mean, there is at least an outside remote possibility that Brian Dable wanted to go to him week two, but didn't because Andrew Thomas wasn't out there and he has to deal with James fucking idiot Hudson.
Russell Wilson was not choice one to come in here.
That's also true. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
that
also,
is an interesting caveat to this Jaxson Dart is starting on Sunday thing.
and there's another thing too. This coaching staff is notorious for not saying anything. They are almost like, I know most coaches now are paranoid about giving information. Dable's really bad with it. So
Hmm.
that we don't know is compounded by the fact that we don't even have an idea or an inkling of something.
And the timing of this being Tuesday is interesting too because typically this sort of thing would be talked about on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. Tuesday is
Why even
very
say it?
early. What?
Why even say it? I mean,
Well, I don't know.
if you want a competitive advantage with the team you're playing, just trot him
Well,
out there Sunday and he's playing.
I guess if you're making the switch, he'll be in the portion open to the media. Maybe. I don't know. I didn't say that was an answer. It's just the first thing
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
of. But my point on the timing is it's the right timing to see if Andrew Thomas had any negative reactions to a Sunday night game.
Mm-hmm. That's
You know
true.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe Monday morning is not the best time to see like, hey, you still sore. But Tuesday morning might be a good time to be like, are you good to go? What do you think about Sunday? I'm good to go. Okay.
I mean,
That's an interesting point.
I mean, I'm thinking about it from, a strategic standpoint for it. Like, again, if you saying it on Tuesday, you're giving, Tuesday, Wednesday, that's when you start implementing your game plan on defense of how you're going to handle something. If you
Sure.
just, I really think they did it this early. I think the Andrew Thomas thing is part of it, but I think it's really about they wanted to turn down the temperature from everybody. It's a pressure valve to get the willy
Sure.
nilly won't be and get the conversation for something else. If that's how you're coaching your team, Jesus, we're screwed. That's not the way, you just be Bill Belichick. We're on to Cincinnati, and who gives a shit what they say.
Any other thoughts on Jaxson Dart?
I don't think anything he does this year is a referendum on him, the coaching staff, the general manager, the price of tea in China. He's a rookie who most likely is being brought in ahead of schedule and may not be completely ready. You know, I don't think that how his success personally, I think this team still has, I still think this team's a bunch of losers. I still think this team's gonna have a bad record. I don't think this team has any chance for, they have a tough road the next couple of weeks. He's going to struggle. Rookies are supposed to struggle. I don't think anything that happens this year should be any indication of, is Joe Shane a good general manager and evaluator of
No.
talent? Is Brian Dable a good coordinator because he has a better weapon? I don't think any of that matters. I just think, fans, you wanted it, you got it. You're going to have to deal with the consequences if he plays poorly and has growing pains to get into it. I don't want to hear in 3 weeks, Stephen A. Smith saying, it was a major bust because he's playing poorly. It's just, we're rolling with him. We're rolling with him, and we're going to, don't worry about the results. This year has officially been declared dead and washed, and this is for the future.
Do you mean that even if he actually does really, really well?
If he does really, really well, then you get excited for the future. I mean, I think it's, if you want to be logical as a fan and take emotion out of it and your 10 years of frustration, you're trying to find things to be positive about. And if he plays really, really well, you have excitement. If he plays really, really poorly, you shouldn't look at it as a bust or, that's the process. Most rookie quarterbacks struggle. For every CJ Stroud, there is a Peyton Manning.
Well, is CJ Stroud even good? It's year 3 at this point. Do we have
No,
that was the exact person I was thinking. I'm not saying CJ Stroud is bad. What I'm saying is we all wrote in that DeMeco Ryans is a genius and CJ Stroud is, for real. And after entering year 3, do we still think that DeMeco Ryans is a genius and CJ Stroud is for real?
I was talking in the moment of year 1.
Well, but I'm just making the point in terms of what if he is really, really good year 1? Like my thing is, I agree with you. You need to take everything this year with a grain of salt. Giants also signed Young Ho Koo today.
Would have been nice if they signed him last Wednesday or last Tuesday.
I know that people don't care about this, but you don't have to watch spring football. But if you're a general manager, you're an idiot if you don't watch spring football.
It's your job.
It's your job. Agreed.
Especially in a league where we have a hard salary cap and you have to find your advantage on the margins.
Exactly. That is okay. Go ahead.
That's it. It's like, okay, we can all spend up to a certain amount of money, but something, doing my Tampa Bay Rays, there was a book written about them called The Extra 2%, because they were in a non-salary cap league. They had to do the little things that the big guys didn't do to try to be competitive. Just because there's a cap or no cap is irrelevant for this thing. It's like, if we're all the same, how do you distinguish yourself? And it's looking under every rock and looking under all these things. That's where, do we find a kicker somewhere where no one else is looking? I can sign him for the bare minimum and he's successful. Where do I find, things like Victor Cruz, a guy that was not on all
like local tryout.
Right. Not on high recruiting boards, not a flashy guy on Saturdays. Those are the extra 2% things that make you successful and stand out and give you competitive advantage. And the fact that we're not doing something like that, again, it goes into that overall list of, we're in year 4. What are we doing with this GM and coach?
Yeah. So I assume that Graham Gano's time here is going to be done. And now you can start next week, because I want you to prepare for this. I don't want you to go off the cuff. You can start all of your Florida State stuff regarding Graham Gano. But I hope I hope that, Young Hoku, first of all, I hope Young Hoku gets over his jitters and maybe we can get him on a deal for a long time and he can just be good. Obviously, that's like best case scenario. But I hope that they just, the more realistic hope is I hope that they just get through the season and they hold a kicking fucking competition. Bring in people. You have a guy in an IPP right now. He costs you nothing. That can be a third guy in your kicking rotation to find a kicker. You can bring in a veteran guy. You can bring in a guy from Spring League or anywhere else you want. Australian rules football, from soccer. You can take an MLS guy. I don't give a shit. Bring
Mhm.
in guys, have a competition, and like you said, find the diamond in the coal, amongst the coal. Um, all right. I don't want to make this too long because this is a second episode this week, and we're kind of just reacting to the news. We'll have a
I
lot more because you and I will be at the game against the Chargers at 1 o'clock. So we will, next week's
and
episode will be a very Jaxson Dart heavy episode, I'm sure.
I would also say I think you did a really good job on Giants Nation talking about the X's and O's of Jaxson Dart and what to expect. You guys had a really good conversation, so I recommend everybody, as soon as you listen to this Emmy Award winning program, go
Mhm.
over and check that one out also because
Watch
I think
those
you
two
guys.
TikTok dancers.
Oh well, I think Bobby deserves an Emmy Award for his evisceration of a certain radio
Well,
play-by-play
can I just
guy.
add one thing?
Sure.
Um, it's very hilarious to shit on content. And I don't really care about like being shit on as a content creator personally, but I think it's hilarious to shit on content creators when the Giants literally made a deal with like six content creators that are actual TikTok dancers, and
Didn't
they
we say that last
highlighted
night?
them. Yeah, well, they did it in the offseason. They announced it. They made a thing out of it. They've been doing like Instagram stuff with those guys, but they literally had like Jersey Joe on the board doing a dance like as part of their thing. So it's very hilarious to me to shit on. He's a content guy. He's one of these content guys like shitting on it like it's a nothing thing.
He,
Something even though it's more than being being somebody that just dances and is a fan or whatever, it's very hilarious to shit because it clearly means something to the Giants.
the most obnoxious thing that quote unquote old media can say is they're old. You can't have an opinion because you never put the pads on and played. The second most obnoxious thing from old media is you don't get to interview the players in the locker room, so you can't have intelligent take. The world has changed, and just because we don't parrot the cliched horseshit that comes from somebody sitting in a stool or at a podium doesn't mean we, you know, people like you specifically and Bobby grind film, have educated opinions about that. So that just sounds like an asshole. And I think I'm going to stand by Bobby on this one. That you know, as a fellow boomer, easy boomer.
All right. That's going to do it for this. Check out the show from this morning as well. And we will see you guys amongst the parking lot tailgates. We're going to try and wander around to get to as many places as we can. So give us a shout if you're going to be there. And we'd like
Yeah,
to, high five, grab a beer real quick. But we are going to be kind of moseying as much as we can to see as many people as we can. Because I'm
yeah.
back, I'm going back home after this week, so I won't be back up here until December. So we'll catch you guys next week on, the usual places at the usual time. Until then, go
Go
Giants.
Giants.